It's been 8 months, Juana, before I could move my fingers. Do you think I shall ever walk again? I've been helpless in bed for the last 3 years. Is this what God wants of me?
We must not lose hope, Teresa. God is all-powerful, the giver of life. If He created us out of nothing, He can make you walk again. Patience, my friend.
It was a miracle, and she thanked him with renewed gratitude. But as she herself would describe it later, the lavish celebration in his honor displayed more vanity than spirituality. I was so eager to make a brilliant impression. The devil was not sleeping. Teresa's miraculous recovery attracted people to her, and soon she settled down to the normal, busy life of the Incarnation. For almost 20 years, she was tossed like a ship at sea, up and down, directionless. Soon, she began behaving like everyone else. Teresa's charismatic presence began to attract rich and prominent visitors who adored her and gave her great pleasure. On his visits, Don Alonso reprimanded her, and Padre Baron urged her to pray, seeing how the things of the world continued to captivate her. She struggled to pray, and then she began to see herself clearly, the woman she was, and the woman God needed her to be. He never let go, even at her worst.
Teresa! Teresa! Are you alright? You frightened me.
Such joy and pain. Untan alegria y aliabeth dolor. Overwhelming joy and pain. As if I were drowning. Oh, Juana, how can I explain this?
Doña Teresa de Ahumada to the parlor.
Sister Teresa, I have just seen Padre Baron and he sends you this book.
Lady Yomar, how wonderful! How is Padre Baron? Has he been well lately? The Confessions of Saint Augustine. I have such a need for good books. The Lord be praised. Thank you, my lady.
You have quite a reputation here, Sister Teresa. Visions, the gift of silent prayer, levitations, spiritual union with the Lord. No wonder everyone wants to be your friend. Even the Lord who grants you such special favors.
Not so, my lady. My soul is a stubborn, unworthy donkey. Most, if not all, my confessors have already given up on me. Padre Daza, Padre Salcedo, Padre Aranda, they refuse to hear my confessions, accusing me of being too proud and too ambitious for my own good. They believe it is not God, but the devil deceiving me. All of this is just a diabolical suggestion at work.
But that is not what I hear of you. And that's certainly not what I believe of you. These special favors from the Lord can only mean you are blessed.
They say, these things are only granted to people known for their holiness and special graces. With the blessing of God, I try my very best to change my life in the Master's example, yet I cannot claim to be equal to the saints. But I know it is He and not the devil directing me, because I desire only what is good. It can be very confusing. The saintly Pedro de Alcantara, the Duke of Gandia, Francis Borgia, Padre de Salazar, Padre de Ibanez, they are all pushing me to undertake a reform for the order.
I know other people who believe you. I too am seeking a way to the Lord's forgiveness. I should like it very much if we could be friends. I would like to offer my help when you do set up your first Reformed foundation. That is, if you will let me.
I should like that too, my lady. Please give my thanks to Padre Baron for the wonderful book when you see him again. May God guide us. It will be difficult times ahead for our mission.
All she does is show us that she's different from us. Who does she think she is, anyway? I've never known a nun to be so scheming and arrogant as that Teresa. She talks of praying in her own way and talking to the Lord directly as a friend. Está muy ilusionada, eres una hipócrita.
But all she has done is set a good example of obedience to the rule. Is that arrogance?
Obedience, perhaps, but certainly not humility. Even her confessors refuse to hear her confessions now. She lectures them when she should be listening to them. I hear Padre Daza believes her visions are the work of the devil. Go on, tell them what you know.
The doctors can't find anything wrong with her and can't understand her fits and spells. They suspect they are self-induced and calculated to put her in the center of everyone's attention. They believe even her 3-year paralysis is a kind of neurosis rather than a physical illness. You know, up here.
The saintly Padre de Alcantara, Francis Borgia, and the other Jesuits have encouraged her to pursue her kind of prayer.
Those Jesuits are themselves a center of controversy. They're all over Europe and the Indies, attracting young men with conceit and arrogance. Besides, many have been deceived and found guilty of fantasy and heresy by the Inquisition. Doña Teresa may well be the next to be summoned and to face trial. It's frightening how the devil seems especially active in our church these times.
Doña Teresa says she doesn't mind dying. She's eager to see her master.
So, now she talks of dying? What else did she say?
She asked me if I also felt like dying. I said, "What on earth for? I want to live long so I can suffer for Christ. I couldn't do that if I were dead, could I?"
Well, Doña Teresa's not going to die either. Look how the Lady Umar takes such good care of her.
With such a good nurse, she'll recover faster than expected and live so long she won't be able to see her spouse for a long, long time. Ah, God help us! Muy ilusionada!
Doña Teresa de Almada, Doña Isabel de Jesus, y Doña Ana de San Jose, to the parlor.
God was not in the strong wind. Neither was he in the earthquake or in the fire.
No, not in the fire. He was in the gentle breeze, the still, small voice that spoke to the prophet Elijah.
How can we hear the still, small voice in this convent? We are too noisy.
We came to spend our lives in solitude, apart from the world, so we could help save it, through prayer and sacrifice. Sometimes I feel ashamed of what I, too, have become.
So unlike our master, whose poor and humble ways we promise to imitate.
Nobody seems to mind the rule here. It's maximum tolerance. Those who have the means have even changed the habit. Look at all those frills and the laces. They're silk and fine linen habits. Only the novices are obliged to observe the rule now.
Yes, we dress as we please. We have rich benefactors who bring us gifts and exchange for spiritual favors. Only we, the poor sisters, live in the dormitories.
Those who can afford it have their own suites and private oratories where they may even bring their maids to serve them. Isn't it ironic that we, who came to serve Christ and his poor, are being served by maids?
Lo siento.
I think we give in too easily to the whims of our rich and generous benefactors. They invite us to their homes and shower us with material gifts in exchange for our prayers. They come in and out as if they own this place. Some of these rich ladies even borrow and return us at will. What was happened to our enclosure?
But on the other hand, without these generous benefactors, we could die of hunger. There is not enough work to bring in the money to feed 180 nuns every day. There must be a way.
But who can blame our prioress for allowing the sisters to leave the enclosure for long periods of time? When Carmelites go out on such visits, that's less mouths to feed.
Well, in the rich houses, the nuns get decent meals and sleep in soft and warm beds. They travel in comfortable coaches to and from the palaces. They come home laden with presents, silk, jewelry, food, warm beddings for themselves and for us. Who can blame our prioress for letting them go?
Just look at our parlors. They are never empty of visitors. Even the gentlemen come any hour of the day on the pretext of getting spiritual advice. Prayer time, meal time, even during periods of silence. In the name of charity, we are told to attend to these souls in need of comfort. You'd think this was a home for single ladies instead of a convent. I wonder if I came to the right place to serve God.
We know that many of our sisters are here because there are no men to marry them. The men are all gone with their dreams of being conquistadores. Their lives are pledged to the king, to Spain, and to their personal honor. They're all in the Indies, where the streets are reportedly lined with gold and silver. If they're lucky, they may even get a title and a territory from the king himself.
I must confess, this discussion comes as a relief to me after so long. Being called to the parlor repeatedly can be very flattering. It can go to the head, then to the heart. Soon, you can't even remember why you came here in the first place. By then, it may be too late. We lose the sense of sin and guilt, then justify our own lukewarm attitudes and bad habits. I shudder to think of the possible punishment awaiting us for all eternity unless we change.
We must believe in God's mercy and understanding. But we can't just sit around complaining. Let's do something. For a start, what about forming smaller communities?
Communities?
I know it probably sounds crazy, but yes, wouldn't it be great if we could go away? I mean, remain contemplative nuns, but live in smaller groups. It has been done before.
Perhaps 13 nuns in a single house would just be right. Isn't that what Christ did? He invited 12 apostles. Fewer nuns, less noise and distraction. Then we could pray better and listen more closely to the still, small voice of God.
Then we could have less needs and learn to live like our hermit fathers did. Simple, poor, chaste virgins, obedient to the rule and Christ's invitation to follow him.
Like the early fathers, like the apostles, owing nothing as individuals and even as a community except the very bare necessities, a roof over our heads, frugal meals, fasting, abstinence, coarse habits, cells just large enough for us to sleep in and practice solitude. It sounds so ideal and so easy, but there's a whole world of difference between just saying it and doing it. I must admit, I too have been guilty of complacency, enjoying the privileges under our mitigated rule and not feeling the smallest desire to give them up. I enjoy the material gifts, the popularity. I'm afraid I too have lost the interest and ability to pray and contemplate. It bothers me that I've been living here so dishonestly, one foot in the convent and one foot in the world. Yes, they are right in saying, eres muy ilusionada, eres una hipócrita.
The Lord forgive us.
I have never truly left the world. My illness has even served as an excuse for me to be lazy, to miss my prayers. I've been adjusting His will to mine instead of my will to His. Compromises, lies. With your help, we have hope. No more compromises, only determination, a strong determination to set us on our journey backwards. We could start a reformation and go back to the primitive rule of the fathers.
How soon can we do this?
Not so soon, I'm afraid. It won't be easy. I assure you, there will be a lot of resistance, misunderstanding, and anger. They will think we are putting ourselves above the rest and trying to show we are holier than they.
Where shall we live? No matter how humble, a convent will cost us money, which we don't have.
What about alms and endowments? At this time, people are not so eager to feed beggars like us.
And if we did beg, that would make us dependent on our benefactors and their whims.
We must pray and seek direction in confession. This we could do immediately.
Could you take the first step to get approval? We will need to seek permission from the Carmelite Provincial, or the bishop,
Or the king, the Holy Father? After all, it is within the Church that we shall promise to live our vows.
Padre Ibanez has promised to help, so has Lady Yomar. In the meantime, let us be quiet about this. The less people know, the less objection there will be. We must pray and ask God to nurture this determination within ourselves. No matter how impossible it looks now, if this is God's will, He will provide all that we need to start His work of reformation. San Jose has been generous with his miracles. He will intercede for us.
Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, expes nostra salve.
Pope Eugenius IV had mitigated the rigors of the primitive rule in 1432, 20 years before women were admitted into the Carmelite order. Through the years, Carmel, which had always been a stronghold for penance and prayer, deteriorated into a house for lonely bachelors and unmarried women. Silence in the convent gave way to the noise of the world. The nuns enjoyed more liberties and found their greatest pleasure is in secular things and the company of courtiers. Overpopulation in the convents strained their resources, which led them to extended visits to friends and relatives as well as benefactors. Soon, most of them slowly lost interest in prayer and lost touch with God. At La Encarnacion, there was strong opposition from the nuns at the news of Teresa's plan for reformation. Understandably, such a move was not flattering for the mitigated Carmelites. It was downright insulting. The nuns ridiculed Teresa, believing she was crazy and deserved to be punished for her pride and ambition. The friars were just as furious, threatened for their daily bread. Another convent dependent on alms would anger the people, who were beginning to feel the famine and poverty. But Padre Ibanez gave Teresa the greatest encouragement and affirmation to go ahead with the work of reformation.
Padre Ibanez, every single day, the group gets more and more restless. They think we should do it soon. It's been 2 years since we first thought of a reformation.
Get on with the foundation, Sister Teresa. The community has gone beyond its bounds. The rule must be observed. The life of Christ's followers must not be more luxurious than Christ's own life. The sooner the foundation is begun, the better it will be for you and the friars of Carmel, the people of Avila, and our church.
But Padre, we have very little money.
This is just the time to put things in God's hands. If there are any objectors, let them come to me. God bless you, my child.
Sister Teresa, our Father Provincial needs you to go to Toledo as soon as possible. Don Arias Pardo de Saavedra, one of the richest men in Spain, has passed away. Up to this time, no one has been able to bring comfort to his widow, Doña Luisa de la Cerda. Your reputation has reached her, and she has asked for you to go to her immediately.
But Mother, there are other nuns. Does our provincial have another reason for wanting me to leave the Incarnation at this time?
It is Madame de la Cerda's wish, Sister Teresa, and not our provincials.
In that case, I shall obey. But before I go, Mother, I wish to ask your permission to visit my sister, Doña Maria, and her husband, Don Juan de Ovalle. It's about a family matter that has to be attended to as soon as possible.
Imposible. They live in Alba de Tormes, and that would set you back a couple of days. Madame de la Cerda's coach will be here for you tomorrow. The provincial doesn't want to displease her. You know what a great help she is to the Carmelite convents. We cannot afford to lose her support.
If I go now, Mother, it would only take a couple of hours. My sister Maria and her husband, Don Juan de Ovalle, have moved to Avila.
Oh, is that so? In that case, you may go. I will call the sister to go with you.
May I bring Doña Juana Suarez with me instead? She's an old friend of the family.
All right, I shall have her go with you.
Thank you, Mother.
What the prioress did not know was that Teresa had made up her mind to obey Padre Ibanez. She bought a house in the name of Maria and Juan Ovalle. The prioress had allowed her to help the family settle down, not suspecting that this was to be the very first Reformed convent in Avila. Preparations were now being made for the opening of the convent of St. Joseph in Avila on August 24, 1562, 26 years after we had welcomed her to La Encarnacion.
The wall fell down.
It is so obvious.
Es una obra del diablo.
See, the devil's work. Don't you think so, Senora?
God is not pleased with this. We must stop it.
Lady Omar, it only means this is what God wants. That is why the devil is playing such tricks on us. We must continue.
How shall we put up another wall?
This will cost us extra to have it rebuilt. They must have done a bad job and must be made to pay for it.
No, Don Juan. We shall have the wall rebuilt and pay them again for it. God will provide as He has always done. Let us not worry. But you must promise to do a good job this time. If it falls down a second time, we shall put it up again.
Si, Sor Teresa.
We shall do our best.
Don Juan!
Your San Gonzalo! El Esmerto!
Esmerto! Gonzalito! Dead! Merciful Jesus!
Gonzalito, umiiho!
O God, Master of life and death, if it be your will, let the boy live. He's alive!
The boy's alive!
El esto vivo! Es un milagro!
It's a miracle.
It's a milagro.
She prayed and the Lord heard her. She has brought him back with her prayers. It must be true what they say. She must be a saint.
Or the devil! God help us!
Let's get on with the work. We have to finish this as soon as possible.
What's happening?
The Valley House!
It's a new chapel with nuns in it.
It's not a chapel. It's a convent of Carmelite nuns. They are going to live here in a strict enclosure with fasting, penance, and prayers.
Why?
To pray for sinners like you and me.
How poor the house looks, just like Bethlehem.
Down with the convent!
Down with the nuns!
We can't feed them!
We must save our bread for our children!
There's no extra money for another convent!
Get them out of here!
Get out! We can't feed them.
Whatever have I done? What if I don't find some money to feed them? My Lord, what now? I have obeyed you. Please take care of your children.
The more the problems come, the greater the reward. Remember, Teresa, you are mine and I am yours. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing affright you. I am He.
My daughters, the prioress demands that I return to the Incarnation immediately.
Mother, what shall we do without you? The villagers hate us. We have no work, no food.
Have faith, my daughters. Saint Joseph will take care of you. Ursula de los Santos will be the prioress of this house. This is your chance to suffer for Christ, and mine too. I must leave for the Incarnation at once.
Mother, must you leave so soon? I'm not sure I can do this.
Have you forgotten, my daughters, how many souls are being lost in Spain? Father Maldonado has reminded us of the great harvest work that awaits the Church in the missions. Since we cannot go to help them there, let us do our best with the little we can share with our church here. Prayer is our weapon, silence our stronghold, and mortification our strategy. We must build more powerhouses of prayer. But now I must go, or Mother Maria, in her anger, will come herself to drag me to the Incarnation. Wouldn't that be ridiculous?
sorry, Teresa. I would never have believed this. But you are what they say you are, a liar and a scheming woman. I demand to know why I was not even consulted on the founding of San Jose. How could you live a life of extreme poverty and penance when you cannot even follow the mitigated rule of La Encarnacion?
Mother, I'm truly sorry, but I only acted in obedience to Christ through Padre Ibanez and Padre Alcantara. Besides, we had received authorization from the bishop and a brief from Rome authorizing the setting up of the Reformed convent in San Jose. We did it quietly to avoid trouble. We could not compromise the mission God has given us, could we? I shall gladly accept whatever punishment you give me, Mother.
Very well, Sir Teresa. I shall forgive you this time, but I can't guarantee the same forgiveness from your sisters here. They have been greatly angered and humiliated by your insensitive behavior. You will serve at the Incarnation for the next 6 months before you go back to San Jose.
Disculpa, como quieres, Madre María.
Meanwhile, back at San Jose, the commotion goes on for another 6 months until Teresa returns. She directs the convent for the next 5 years, teaching her nuns how to pray and do penance in strict enclosure and silence. In 1567, Padre Juan Bautista Robeo, Master General of the Carmelites, visited San Jose. He was greatly edified by the silence, the humility and life of prayer of the Reformed community. He gave Teresa patents to found more reform houses for nuns and friars. The movement began to attract not just the women, but also the priests.
Padre Antonio de Heredia, welcome! Father General has authorized me to found monasteries of men according to the primitive rule, but I have no friars.
Here I am. I will be the first.
Padre, you are prior of St. Anne's Monastery. After 57 years of living comfortably, are you sure you want this kind of life?
Mother, I am serious. If you will not accept me, I am joining the Carthusians, for I sincerely desire this austere kind of life.
Then I shall give you a year of trial and see if you can bear the difficult life of the primitive rule.
Padre Juan de la Cruz wishes to see you, Mother.
I have been thinking of joining the Carthusians. The mitigated rule of our convent is not what I have dreamed about as a way of life.
Well, Father, I am founding a Carmelite order for men under the primitive rule. I beg you to please wait a while. Come on, Father. Would you not rather embrace the more perfect life according to the primitive rule as a son of Carmel rather than as a Carthusian?
Provided I do not wait too long.
Don Rafael has offered me a house at Turello. It's small, poor, and has nothing of the amenities you have in your convents. But it's hidden in a forest of oak trees with a rolling stream close at hand. A charming, gracious solitude. If you wish, you and Padre Antonio can visit the place and begin living there. If you are ready to accept the habit, we shall go on with the foundation of the Reformed Friars of Carmel. Fathers, we are lucky we have a house. Except, It's really an abandoned, tumble-down shack with nothing but a porch, a room, and a tiny kitchen. It is so low and poor, it could be the stable of Bethlehem.
Wonderful! Then I can truly live in poverty.
Even a pig pen would be welcome. I shall work for my resignation as prior of St. Anne's immediately.
Padre Juan, you could go with us to our foundation at Valladolid to learn something about the life of the Discalced religious. As soon as the permission for Duruelo comes through, you could go ahead and transform the stable into a monastery. What do you say?
That I shall do, before any obstacles arise.
All for the glory of God.
Mother Teresa, give me your blessing that I may begin the work for His glory.
We will follow you with our prayers. God's blessings be with you and the Foundation, Father. Now you must give us your blessing, that we too may live our life as we should.
I shall never forget those to whom I owe so much.
On November 28, 1568, the little house at Duruelo was declared a Discalced Carmelite monastery. In a simple ceremony, Father John of Matthias changed his name to John of the Cross. He, Friar Anthony of Jesus, and Friar Jose de Cristo began to live the primitive rule. The reform of the Carmelite friars would spread to Italy and then the whole world. In the meantime, Teresa continued to found her convents in Medina del Campo, Malagon, Valladolid, and Toledo. On July 29, 1575, Ruy Gomez da Silva, second highest ranking man in Spain, died. His beautiful but haughty and self-willed wife was inconsolable and demanded to enter the Carmelite convent at Pastrana immediately.
Mother Teresa, the Princess of Eboli is here. She is asking to be received as a nun, and is demanding to be the prioress of this convent.
The Princess of Eboli? Oh no! This is the end of the convent!
Your Highness, that is the prioral chair.
What if it is? I am the princess and will not be subject to anyone, not even your prioress. After all, I founded this place.
Welcome, Your Highness. It is time for Vespers, Your Highness. Won't you join us in the chapel?
No, I am tired and prefer to retire now. Tell my maids to fix a light supper for me in my private quarters. Oh, and Mother Teresa, I would like my maids to take the veil. On the same day, I take my veil. I simply cannot do without them.
Your Highness, this convent has rules which even I, as prioress, must obey. Unfortunately, we cannot accede to your wish. We in the Reformed Order have vowed to serve God and only God through obedience to His rule in His strict enclosure and complete silence. If you will not bend to the rule, we will have to ask you to leave.
What? You dare to tell me that? Sin vergüenza? Very well. I shall leave. But I shall withdraw all help to this convent, and will see what shall become of you. Prepare the coach. We are going home.
Perdóneme, Sor Teresa.
Idiota! Vamos!
Mother, what terrible stories they tell about you! She will not stop until she destroys you.
I could be doing worse things if the Lord were not guiding me by the hand, my child. But my great sorrow is the way our discalced friars are being treated by their brothers in the mitigated order. I hear they have been tortured and imprisoned. And what is worse, all the Carmelite convents, mitigated and reformed, have been put under the jurisdiction of the superiors of the mitigated. It is like a death knell to our reform movement. My daughters, we shall leave this house at once and join our sisters at the new convent in Segovia. There we shall be safe. Leave behind everything that the Princess of Eboli has given to us. We shall live tonight under cover of darkness. But have no fear. Our faithful protector, Saint Joseph, will be with us.